Before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. Although we are therapists, this podcast is not therapy and does not replace working with your own therapist. Everything shared here is for general education and conversation only.
Welcome back to Two Anxious Girls. I am Dobby.
And I'm Christina.
And we're two therapists who spend 40 hours a week helping people navigate their lives and the other 128 hours wondering if we're doing ours entirely wrong or analyzing TV characters like if they were to be our clients.
Because they kind of are.
Okay, before we dive into today's episode, it is inspired by a recent episode of Shrinking on Apple TV, which we love. And today we are exploring the idea of a depression diet and, of course, anxiety diet.
Yes. And Dobby just did air quotes just so everybody knows. So in Shrinking, I hope those who are listening are watching. There's this moment where the character, I feel like she's on a character. She's my friend, where Gabby jokes about being on a, quote, depression diet, which is actually such a perfect way to describe what a lot of people experience, because it's not really about food. It's about that emotional restriction.
Absolutely. And I also wanted to mention that even if you don't watch the show, this episode, it's just like all of our other episodes. We are going to reference a little bit the show, which we already did, but we are going to focus about how depression shows up, how anxiety shows up, and how, as you just mentioned, how that restriction occurs in our lives. So it's just for us to create self-awareness. And if you're not a fan of Shrinking, it's okay. You can still relate to this episode.
Yeah.
So stick around.
Yeah. I feel like we jumped into Shrinking without checking in. How are you doing today?
Yeah, that's what Shrinking does to you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
We're doing something different. I thought that it would be fun to do an episode about shrinking because many people are talking about it and many people in the mental health space are talking about it.
Yeah. And also, Zabi, I feel like our friendship really focuses a lot on shows and what we're watching and always recommending shows to each other.
Yeah. So we found this to be fit.
Yes. So let's get into the spiraling.
Yeah. So as you mentioned earlier about the restriction that occurs in depressed mood, we are talking about thought patterns that feel very real, but are also quietly taking over your life. So let's talk about today's spiral.
Mhm.
For example, I am just in a low mood. I'll snap out of it.
Yeah. Which can be true sometimes, but sometimes it's actually not just a mood. Sometimes it's a pattern, a slow pulling away, and depression can actually look like shrinking your world.
Absolutely, which is literally what we see in the show. Like pulling back from people, from work, from connection, isolating. Those are all symptoms of depressed mood.
Yeah. And the tricky part is that it can feel protective. This is my way of protecting myself. If I stay by myself, I don't have to worry about leaving. I don't have the energy, so I'm just going to stay in, which does make sense, but then it reinforces that isolation.
Absolutely. And then there is the anxiety version of this, which we, for today's episode, are calling the anxiety diet, which means less shutting down and more about over functioning. You don't withdraw like you do with people or situations, but you overthink, you overanalyze, you over prepare. And you basically go on a diet of control. And that is so real. And that's what, if you've been following us for our last couple of episodes, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And of course, it's very fitting to this segment because it all leads to spiraling.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here reflecting, and it could look like trying to eliminate uncertainty at all costs,
Mhm.
which good luck with that because it's literally impossible.
Absolutely. Yeah. It feels good to try to control certain things,
Mhm.
but if we really think about it, control is just an illusion. So let's go into, yeah, sorry for dropping it
Yeah,
like that. No, but all jokes aside, let's go into our next segment,
Mhm.
which are therapy insights. And this is where we connect everything that we are saying clinically.
Yeah.
So if we think about depression as a diet, air quotes, it's often restriction of emotional and behavioral engagement. You stopped doing the things that nourish you, that bring you joy, make you happy. And it's not because you don't want them, it's just because you don't have the capacity to allow them in.
Right.
Yeah.
And over time, your world gets smaller and smaller, which reinforces the depression. Anxiety does work differently, so it expands everything. There's more thoughts, more intrusive thoughts, more scenarios are playing out, more of the what ifs, but both are trying to do the same thing, and that is to protect you.
Absolutely. And the what ifs, the
Ugh,
what ifs are
the
such
what
a big
ifs.
one. Don't we love them?
Ugh, love to hate them.
Love to hate them. They lead to spiraling. So, again, self awareness. Let's always make a mental note when our mind goes into, but what ifs? We stopped right there. We take a deep breath
Mhm.
and we want to move forward. We want to let it go.
Yeah.
Follow your intuition. I feel that that was such a great episode, our episode on anxiety or intuition.
Yeah.
So, go back to that. It was a good one.
Yeah.
But let's get back to this. Both depression and anxiety are trying to do the same thing, believe it or not. They're trying to protect us. Depression protects you by shutting things down in its own weird way. And anxiety protects us by trying to control everything, which we actually do know that is impossible. And neither is actually the problem. They're both responses. They're responding to what we think that we need. And when we learn to understand that they're not the problem, they're just how we're responding,
Mhm.
we can start to look at it differently and have a different reaction.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we should be on shrinking. We should be the 2 new additions to the private practice.
Yeah, now that Harrison Ford is retiring or probably retiring,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be great? Become actresses in this stage of our lives.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Yeah. I think about getting coffee with Gabby often.
That would be great. I love her sense of fashion.
Oh my gosh, she's so fun.
Yeah. I also want to point out people may already know this, but it's entirely unethical. It's not real. It's
Oh
just
my gosh.
Hollywood.
Mhm.
That's not how therapy looks like in real life. That's not exposure. It's not like how exposure looks like.
No, the amount of clients that ask me, like, "How true is this? Is this actually what happens?" And I have to make sure I tell them no, because
Yeah,
I don't want them thinking that's what therapy is like.
absolutely. Well, with that, let's go into our guilty pleasures and anxiety wins of this week.
Yeah,
Shall you begin?
sure. My guilty pleasure, I'm gonna say, was watching Shrinking.
Oh, yeah.
Each episode comes out every week, which I love and hate because I think I love binging, but I also love having something to look forward to. So I watched Shrinking, and that was fun, and my anxiety win, maybe just catching myself before trying to control everything and anything.
And that's a big one. And it's constant, Christina.
Constant. Yeah, that was mine. And reminding myself that uncertainty isn't actually dangerous.
Please remember that
Thank
for everyone. Let's remember that. I would say that my anxiety win lately has been challenging myself,
you.
recognizing what I am feeling, how it feels in my body, and just doing it anyway. I'm very proud.
That's big, Dobby.
Thank you so much. And guilty pleasure. This past weekend, my husband and I went to the ballet. It was great. It was awesome. We saw the Sleeping Beauty with the New Jersey Symphony. It was so whimsical. All the costumes were so beautiful. It was very Bridgerton esque with all these soft pastels. It was just great. I loved it. And also, it was 2.5 hours.
Oh
We
my
had
gosh.
2 intermissions. So I would just say that individuals that were there with children, I commend them because it was not easy, but it was still great. It was great, and it was great to be transported elsewhere for 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
It
that
was,
sounds nice.
yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, and just recognizing one more, I know we said this before, but the guilty pleasures is also just things we enjoy.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah. So before we end today's episode, we just want to leave you with something to reflect on. If you've been feeling low or anxious lately, try asking yourself, am I pulling away from things that usually support me? Or am I trying to control everything because I feel unsafe?
Absolutely. Because sometimes it's not just anxiety, it's not just depression, it's how your system is trying to cope. And once you understand that, you can start to respond with more compassion and gentleness towards yourself. We say this regularly and we mean it.
Mhm.
Pay attention to how you're feeling and just try to practice a little more compassion and gentleness towards yourself.
Yeah. So if this episode resonated with you, we're really glad you're here. We hope you stick around for more conversations like this. Share with a friend who may need it. Follow us, rate us, and listen for more. Thanks for listening.
Yes. And thank you so, so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Couldn't have said it better.